Test, test. What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Perfect. All right. I think this is the first time we actually started on time. I'm going to crack open a cold one. What's up, everybody? I have the fan running too, so if you guys hear a lot of wind noise or anything, just let me know. But I got to do something over here. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend or a good week. Happy 4th of July and all that stuff. Okay, perfect. How was my 4th? Mine was pretty chill, man. I've been off the work this week, so some of you probably know how that goes. Basically, instead of just going to work, I do work at home all week. So we've been busy, but it was better than waking up every morning and going somewhere. Yeah, hopefully everybody got to celebrate. I think we got some news coming out tomorrow too. My new video tomorrow I think should be pretty good about the new unlock stuff, so we can talk about that. Let's see, what's up, man? Yeah, I got my Ultraflow X and Dorch pump installed. Final step is flex fuel. What heat mods should I get? Honestly, I mean, it just kind of depends, man. For something like that, it's pretty straightforward. But the only issue is you'll probably run out of injectors pretty quick. Because on a Gen 2, you're not going to make a whole lot of power, especially with ethanol. So you either want upgraded injectors or port injection to get, 600 to 650. But heat mods, it's probably not that risky. You might get a heat exchanger, but nothing crazy. What up? What up? Yeah, somebody put me out to this OBS studio, so I'm trying this out. So if anything weird happens, just let me know. I'm not streaming from YouTube. I'm joining you guys in the 20th century or 21st century. Do I like the 340 or 440 better? I absolutely like the 440 better. The problem with the 340 is it was never supposed to be a car that I liked. I just bought it for the channel just to build it and do some mods and stuff. So it's kind of one of those things. There's nothing wrong with it, but I bought the 440. I spec'd the 440. I built it exactly how I wanted. So that's absolutely my favorite. But nothing wrong with the 340. Yeah, S58 injectors would be a good option. And that's something that you can do. It's not plug and play, but you can just select an option in your tune for it. But yeah, it's less about like what you need for your mods and more about what you need for your goals. So if you want to chase a certain time or, make a certain amount of power, that'll be a little more important to decide what mods you need. No one talks about the 240. So here's the funny thing. I almost got a 240. For me, it was actually between an M240i and a 440i. But the 240, especially on F series, is very nerfed and it's missing a lot of things. So I think from a performance standpoint, I would love to have an M240. I was seriously considering it because I actually liked the looks of it more than the 440 at the time. And of course, it's lighter and stuff. But there's just so much stuff that you can't get with it. Like even like little stuff like it's missing a temp gauge and stuff. Like it just bugged me. So I think they did better with the G series, but on the F series, they like deliberately didn't put a lot of stuff in that car. That's why a lot of people don't get them. Let's see, I got a 16 340i lowered with some Bilsteins And now my passenger CV inner boot keeps ripping. I mean, I guess it depends on how low you are. Normally Bilsteins don't go that low, or Bilsteins, they don't go that low. So I'd be kind of surprised to hear that. But if you've got it like all the way bottomed out, maybe just raise it up like half an inch, and that might help. But if the inner boot keeps ripping, that could be something else too, like something in there, because normally the axle snaps if it's too low, or if you have too much camber and stuff. If it's just the boot, make sure nothing's like rubbing on it or anything, and that should hopefully make it last longer. Let's see, am I going to trade in the 340 for an M3? So that's a funny question, man. That's actually something that I've thought a lot about, and I know some people I've talked to about this, but uh, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the 340 isn't going to make it to the end of the year. It's probably not going to make it past like September. I've pretty much done my time with that car. I wasn't even supposed to have it this long with my plans, but after the engine last year and everything, I ended up saying I would keep it for one more year because I had to invest all that money into it. But I don't know. You guys tell me, what should I trade for? Really not trade, but sell it and buy something else. Because there are a couple options that I'm playing around with. Well, let me know, what do you think I should get next? The 440 is not going anywhere. The opinion on the LCI 540. That was actually also a car that I was going to get. I almost got it, but ended up getting the 340 just because of the mods I planned on doing. But I was considering getting a 540 just for a daily because I really hated driving the X5. I don't enjoy driving the X7. So when weather's bad and stuff, if I'm not driving the 440 or if I'm working on it, I thought a 540 would be like a nice, comfortable cruiser. And I think they look good, especially the G Series with the M Sport kit. Like, they look nice. But they're just big, man. That's the only downside. They're big and heavy. Yeah, the 2 Series. So saying that the 2 Series has a temp gauge under the BC buttons, I get it, but I like it being readily available. Like, that was already something that I had to deal with in the X5, and like if you had an E90, a lot of them don't have a temp gauge. Instead, they have like the little fuel MPG like instant reading. It's so pointless. And that always annoyed me. And I remember one time I was in my car idling and the fan stopped working. And I had no idea. I think I even took a nap, like I was asleep. And then I just hear, the bell going off, the warning, and I look up and it says like the engine's over temperature or something. I'm like, what the heck? And I realized that the fan wasn't working, but I had no indication until it hit probably like 270 degrees that it was a problem. I don't know. It just bugs me not having that like always visible and readily available because I do check it. Do I like the look of the new X5? No. That's actually funny too because my kids love it. So my son and my daughter for the past 3 days have been asking to watch X5 videos multiple times a day just because of the X headlights. That's like the only thing that they care about. And then one of like the BMW videos, they were talking about like, how you can just talk to it and it does stuff. You can tell it to open the doors and like whatever. And they lost their minds. So now my daughter says that the X5 is her favorite car, and every day she's asking, "Can we watch another X5 video?" So I guess maybe that's who they're marketing it towards: kids born after 2020. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the new direction BMW's going in. It's just not my personal preference, especially the interior. But we'll see. Maybe it'll grow on me. Let's see. I have a 2017 440i with a 6870 bottom mount. Base map spring pressure 14 psi. I just want a quick daily. What should I do to have a reliable 600 wheel? Oh, see, that's where you messed yourself up, man. You can make 600 easy, but if you want to stay on 93, you're not going to get there, or it's going to be extremely hard, man. That's one of those things where the only people that make 600 wheel on 93 have like unicorn fuel, and I wouldn't even trust that. Because usually what I tell people, if you see one or two dynos out there Imagine like anytime you travel or go somewhere or go to a different gas pump and the 93 isn't as good. I wouldn't lean on that. But what I tell most people is don't worry about like a power figure unless you have some other like requirement in mind. Just enjoy the car. You know, if you can only run pump gas, get it tuned. It'll absolutely be faster than stock turbo on pump gas. And I enjoy my car on pump gas. My 340 has been on pump gas all year. I haven't ran ethanol since last summer. So I know there's a lot of hype around ethanol, but don't feel like you have to do it. Even on 93, the car can be fun. If you just want a fun daily, that's plenty. And you still get the drama of the big turbo with a 6870. It'll be loud, it'll spool hard. I would say just enjoy it. Run like 20, 21 PSI maybe, and just have a good time. Let's see, M240 should be my next car. I've thought about it, man. So here's what I'm actually thinking about. M240 or M340, or potentially like an M2. I think the M3 and M4 are still out of reach for me right now. Just they're still so expensive. The only cars that would work would probably be like a manual transmission car, and that just won't do well for the channel and stuff. So, you know, if I could get like an automatic comp rear wheel drive M3 for like a decent price, that's something that I would seriously consider. Otherwise, yeah, it's probably between those two. Or, of course, a Supra, because we've been talking about that for a long time. I do really want an A90, but I also want something new. So it's like, do I want another B48 car or do I want to find something with an S58? Because the M2 prices are coming down. I think when the M2 X Drive comes out, a lot of people are going to be dumping their M2s. And so hopefully that brings the value down later this year. You know, it depends on the market and my bank account. That unfortunately speaks louder than my brain. So I can't have everything I want. But that's kind of where I'm in. I'm most leaning towards either an M2 or an A90 just because those would be the most different from what I already have. But an M340 would be awesome. An M240 would be awesome. We'll see. And somebody else recommended a Z4. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would that be interesting or would that just kind of be comedic relief for 3 weeks and then everybody loses interest? I think it's a cool idea, but I don't know if people actually want to see Z4 content. Let's see. Sorry, I'm missing some questions too. I'm trying to scroll back. Do you think the Gen 1 B58 can be considered safe at 650? Yeah, absolutely. And what I tell most people is if you want your B58 to last a long time, stock engine, stock transmission, like most people, just shoot for like around 600 to 650 horsepower and keep torque around 600 foot-pounds, and it'll last a very long time at that range. So that's usually what I recommend. And it's fast, it's fun, it's reliable. You don't have to spend crazy money because after that point, as soon as you have to build the transmission, that's when expenses get out of control, right? Like all of a sudden you're spending $5,000, $10,000 and then you're only getting maybe another 50, 100 horsepower before you have to build the engine. That's another $10,000. So yeah, if you're that committed, go for it. But you got to really decide, do you want to go over that limit? Yeah, you guys like the Z4, huh? Well, some of you do. An A90 with an S58 swap, that would be pretty sick. And I know a lot of people have been telling me that I should either S58 swap the 340 or buy something else and B58 swap it with the old engine since I still have it sitting here on the shelf. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I have it in me. Let's put it that way. That would be a pretty significant project. If this was all I did and I had all the time in the world to focus on it, sure. But right now, I don't think a B58 swap is in the cards. But an S58 swap, that would be impressive. I'm also entertained by the X Drive swaps. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think there's at least two people that have xDrive swapped to Supra. So they've got an all-wheel drive Supra launching on like supercars and stuff on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about. I just don't know if I have the time and patience to figure that out myself. Let's see, the main coolant pipe connecting to the engine blew off. The one that connects to the three-way valve. I overheated for a few before I pulled up and got it towed. What precautions would you take after you overheat? I mean, I guess it depends on how hot it got. Because I've driven my car with no coolant in it before, and I didn't even know. So, it really just depends. If all it did was dump coolant and like you saw a bunch of smoke and stuff behind you, what I would say is it was probably just steam. That's what it was in my scenario. The coolant was really hot. So the engine didn't really overheat. It just looked really dramatic because when my coolant hose popped off, it was pretty bad. But if it got really hot, like I said, over 260, 270, then you probably want to do like a leak down. Just make sure you didn't blow your head gasket and stuff. Otherwise, I would just drive it and keep your fingers crossed, keep your legs crossed, cross your eyes, everything that you can to get some good luck. It's probably fine if it's still driving and not like stumbling or misfiring or anything. Let's see. Yeah, your stock trans didn't like 680 foot-pounds. And I think the problem is a lot of people don't realize it until it's too late. And this has been pretty well established for like a long time. We know the limits of the transmission, but you can get really saucy in fourth gear. You can push it really hard in fifth gear. And then as soon as you push it in sixth gear, that's when it becomes a bad time. And as soon as you decide, like, hey, I just wonder what it would feel like past 140 miles an hour, your buddy says, "Hey, let's do a 60 to 160." You're like, "Sure." That's when it gets you. So I know some people just try to like limit torque in sixth gear to get around it, but it's not worth it to me. I would just keep torque low, keep everything happy, protect your drive shaft, like all that stuff is much safer at 600 foot-pounds. What do I plan for cooling on the 340? So I'll talk about that. A lot of people told me I should get meth injection or water injection, and I think I have made a video about that in the past, so I may talk about it again, but I don't want to like be too repetitive. The issue is for a more conventional car, like a car with an air-to-air intercooler, you have a whole, 3, 4 feet of pipe or whatever between the intercooler and the engine. So you can do water injection, you can do meth injection. It'll have plenty of time to atomize. And those are the setups where you can even see temps like below ambient because so much water is evaporating, right? On our setups, we just don't have that because the distance between the intercooler and the cylinder head is about right here. You can barely stick your fist in between it. So to me, that just doesn't help as much. I know some people use it and they say they have good results, but I don't think that's something I would lean on. And plus, on track for a 20-minute session, I don't know how long a tank would last, or if I'm going to be like refilling it and going through gallons and gallons of water every session or every day. So I plan on doing a couple other things to try to improve it. But we're not so worried about cooling so much because I think I've mostly maxed out the bolt-on options, I guess, for cooling. So we're going to look at other ways to make the car faster before my last couple events this year. Let's see, is it normal for an F30 xDrive to wear out all season tires in 20,000 miles? I mean, it could. I don't know how you're driving, but if you're having fun, I guess it's definitely possible. I go through a set of tires on track and probably like 500 miles of actual track driving. So, if you're driving like you really like it, you probably could run into that, but it just depends. If you have stock alignment, I'm assuming that you mean you just haven't messed with the alignment, which probably means it's worth getting your alignment checked because it can go out of alignment without you doing anything. And if you have camber wear, that's a probably good indication that something is wrong. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you drive on track, trust me. I mean, people go through a set of tires in a weekend. I know people that will bring an extra set of tires just because sometimes they go through a tire in 2 days. And if you imagine a track is about, 1.5 to 2.5 miles, you might get like 60, 70 laps in a weekend. So what is that? Maybe 200 miles in a weekend. And some people are burning through a set of tires. It can happen. Let's see, is the Gen 3 B58 worth getting? I don't know. I guess it depends on what you want. If you just want like a really nice new car, sure. If you want a car that you can make fast and tinker with, definitely not. There's nothing there, and I don't expect there to be anything there anytime soon. It's kind of unfortunate. It's like the clock just keeps getting restarted because we just got some really good traction on the Gen 2 B58 and then the Gen 3 came out. Now the Gen 2 stuff is stalling a little bit, but like I said, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow with all these new people that are unlocking these cars. But man, it's just kind of disappointing. I miss the days where it took maybe 2 years before a DME was unlocked at most. Now we're just stuck in this cycle. Is it true you have to drop the subframe to install a downpipe on a Gen 3 B58? Yes. Yeah. And I think it might depend on the platform, but every single one that I've seen, they drop the subframe. So yeah, again, I don't think it's worth it if you plan on tinkering with the car. It's got way more emission stuff, way more software, like electronic components, more things just in your way everywhere. So if you just want to drive it, yeah, cool. But if you want something to turn into a race car one day and you're just waiting for an unlock to come out, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Let's see. I wonder how water meth injection would act if the nozzle was on the compressor housing. I mean, it would work, and I know some people that have done like water injection before the intercooler. It just depends, It depends on the airflow, the temperature, all that stuff. But again, I don't know if I want to figure that out. And like, because on the 340, I have probably the only, or I'll say the most expensive aftermarket charge pipe that doesn't even have a bung. So it doesn't have anywhere that you can spray water or meth or anything like that. It's just titanium and it's flashy, so I like it. But yeah, I'd have to figure out where the nozzle would go and get a whole new kit and stuff. And like I said, I'm not keeping the car that long, so I don't feel like investing that much time in it. We'll get faster. Don't worry. And temperatures will start coming down, and when I go back, it should be better. Let's see. I've completely lost track of the DME unlock methods. What is usually the best all around? So, I mean, like I said, a lot of stuff changed in the last week, but for most people, usually I see people going with auto tuner just because they're in Alabama, and so they're kind of centralized. Fem2 right now is in Florida, so it's just a little farther. But it really just depends. If you want something in person, you'd have to go to Keys right now, but there are a couple other people, like I said, within the last week that started saying they can do in-house unlocks on the Gen 2s. So we'll see. I think I have an idea of what they're doing. So I actually just made a video today to post tomorrow about it, but um, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I sometimes hate talking about this stuff because it's like as soon as something comes up and you mention it, the next day it's like irrelevant. Something new comes out and then it's no longer news. So that's why I was like, kind of figure this out, make a video, post it, and hopefully it's not out of context by the time it goes live. We'll see. Like the Keys video, yeah, when I posted the Keys video and 3 hours later they said they're not doing it anymore, and two other companies said they were doing something. It happens like that. But maybe the holiday weekend is slowing people down. So maybe next week or this coming up week, that's when everything will change. What is the best exhaust setup for a Gen 1 B58? That answer to that question would be no exhaust. That's my personal favorite. I don't think you can make a B58 sound bad. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But my buddy was next to me. We were at the drag strip, and I asked him what exhaust he had, and that's what he told me was that he just had a turn down. And it sounded so good. It wasn't that loud. When he was driving, it was louder and it had like some drone and stuff. But like an unrestricted B58 just sounds perfect to me. So my personal preference is as little restriction as you are comfortable dealing with. Like I would just go straight pipe if I could. Thoughts on X Delete for the F30? Yeah, I'm just still not a fan. I don't know. I think the reason why people do X Delete to do burnouts and stuff, I think is a bad idea. Using it for like running on a dyno that isn't set up for all-wheel drive is a bad idea. So, it's just my personal preference. I don't think our cars are designed to do that. They did a lot of work on the M5s and M3s and stuff to make the MX drive work when it's decoupled that we don't have on our cars. And then I feel like a lot of people have blown transfer cases and they don't know it. And then one day they're like, why am I losing traction when I floor it? Like, why are my rear wheels just spinning? And it's because you toasted the clutches in your transfer case. So I don't know. I'm not saying automatically like it's just going to cause it to fail or blow or something, but I think if you're worried about longevity and letting your car last, I wouldn't use it personally. Let's see. Thoughts on the new i3 M. So you guys are going to hate me, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all, especially the front end. I think the front end of the M3 looks a lot better than a G80. It probably, to me, looks more like an evolution of an F80, like going from an F80 to a new M3 versus like the huge transformation that they did with the G80. And I just think, I don't know, it could be nice, especially if it's low and wide. I think the rear end looks a little funky. They should make the taillights look, I don't know, a little more collected. Like right now, it just looks like a big flat billboard. It needs to look like more cohesive, but the front end, I think, looks a lot better. My biggest issue is the interior. They completely ruined the interior with the Neue Class design. But again, maybe that'll grow on me. We'll see. I'm thinking about adding a Valvetronic exhaust system on my X7. I didn't even know we had those options. I must be living under a rock. I didn't realize we had exhaust options for X7s. But I mean, I guess go for it, man. My car is actually, I won't say it's loud, like it's just, sounding like our drag car or something driving around, but it's a lot louder than I realized from the outside. Because anytime I hear like my wife pull away or whatever, if I see it in a video, it's a lot louder than I thought with just a downpipe. So I'm not really interested in making it any louder, just my personal preference. Um, but I mean, especially if it's valved, like you can make it quiet when you want, make it loud when you want. I don't see how it could hurt. Are AMGs good again now? I don't really pay attention to Mercedes. I heard that they were dumping like the four-cylinder hybrid deal that they put in the C63, and that was the last thing I kind of paid attention to. So if they bring it back to like a V8, that would be good. But every video I've seen doesn't make me excited about them. I guess I'll put it that way. There's nothing about them that motivates me to want to own one. Let's see, why do I drive BMWs? Oh man, I'm sorry, brother. I mean, it's okay if somebody just beats you. The problem, I guess, is when you were in your AMG, whoever beat you probably didn't even know you guys were racing. That's just how they drive. So it's not your fault, man. It happens to the worst of us. Yeah, I'm missing messages. Sorry. I love the MPPSK sound, and that's a straight pipe. You guys realize that? An MPPSK with the valves open, and like if you put a catless downpipe on it, it's a straight pipe because there's no resonators and the mufflers get completely bypassed when the valves are open. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like an unrestricted B48 sounds good. It's loud. You got to be okay with a loud car, but it sounds good. So that's my personal preference. I wanted an MPPSK so bad, man, but they were so expensive. I remember they were selling for like $2,000 or something. And I think somewhere they sell just the muffler so that you can attach it onto the stock mid pipe, but you can rarely ever find it for sale. I found the part number on Real OEM at one point. Yeah, that's what she said. As far as HPD, what tires are you using now and how long are you getting out of a set in a square setup? Yeah, so I use Continental Extreme Contact Force tires. They are not very sticky in the grand scheme of things. They're mostly designed as like an endurance racing tire. So for people that do like a lot of lapping, so they last a really long time. But by really long, I mean like 3 events, which ends up being 7 to 9 actual days on track. So it really just depends. And I mean, I'm pushing my car, you know, like I slide a little bit. I lose traction sometimes, so I'm not just driving around like Daisy, like I am actually pushing it. But I burned through them pretty good. And that's where like on my last video, I mentioned that I had like flat spotted the tire. And somebody mentioned like that's not flat spotting, that's like delamination from overheating because it got too hot. So that's why I stick with those tires, because if you go with a stickier compound like a Super 200, a lot of times those overheat quicker and drop off quicker. So I like them. You can also get them pretty cheap. I don't know for how long, but for the past like 3 years, you've been able to get them for buy 3 get 1 free. So you can get a set of tires for less than $1,000. And if you're going to be burning through them anyway, I figure that's a good deal. But I'm not sure how long that deal will last. So hopefully I can get as much out of these as possible. I just need them, like I said, to last this year. And it's not a square setup. I run 245 front and 275 rear on a 9-inch front wheel and a 10-inch rear wheel. So my philosophy, like a square setup can be good for balance and helping the car rotate, but I just want the maximum amount of traction as possible. And then I'll do other things to improve balance, like adjust my alignment or my driving style and stuff to get it around. But especially with the upgraded turbo, I don't want to give up rear end grip to run like a square setup. And maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it could be faster, but that's just how I put my stuff together. Did I mess up getting the 40i over the M60? Everybody said the M60 is better. I disagree. I think it just depends on your preferences, man. Because for me, like it's actually kind of funny because I have this video I took for my wife where she drove the car and came home and said we should have gotten the M. And I was like, why? And she's like, oh, no reason, nothing. And I checked my dash cam and it's like she got smoked by this M50i from like a stoplight that I guess she was messing with or whatever. And I mean, that's with the car tuned. It's on ethanol. You know, I mean, maybe the M50i was tuned as well. I don't know. But they're faster. Like, no matter what, they're going to be faster. But to me, it's also always going to be an X7. So no matter how quick it is, no matter how much power it makes, it's always going to be a 5,000, 6,000 pound SUV. And that's just not really my priority. I do enjoy that I can drive the car 500 miles on a single tank of gas. I've done that before. Like I can literally drive from Cincinnati to Atlanta on 1 tank of fuel, and it just works, man. I don't know. I like being able to work on it. I like cheap maintenance. I like everything that comes with the B58 over the S63 or S68. So yeah, if all you're doing is driving around town and it's like something that you enjoy is having a car with a V8 that's loud and fast or whatever, you can go for it, but it's not my personal preference. I think the only thing I would change about our car, if I were to do it again, I would get the M Sport package. But that that is not a priority. And it's not even for like the exterior kit. I just wish we had the black headliner. As stupid as that sounds, because they only put the black headliner in the M Sport cars. So that's kind of, I hate like tan or white interiors. They just get dirty and stuff. But yeah. So yeah, appreciate it, man. I'm glad you guys enjoy the videos. I was able to make a couple this week, so we're hopefully gonna stay on schedule because it's been a rat race the past couple months. Life is being life. Is overrun bad for the M340, and how does it make the sound? So my understanding is it's very similar to like the analog strategy or like the burble strategy, but it's almost like where the valve timing is in order to make the sound. Because what I heard is they basically let the valve stay open a little longer or a little more open so that you hear the combustion inside the engine, and so it just makes it a little more audible through the exhaust. I'm not a tuner, so I can't confirm that for sure, but that's my understanding. So, I mean, leaving the valves open does let some of the combustion pressures and stuff come out of the engine, and then it gets into the turbo, and it's not ideal, but I don't think it's like immediately detrimental. I just don't use it because I don't really enjoy it. So, like a lot of things, again, personal preference. Just understand maybe it's not something that you want to abuse and like have it cranked all the way up and deliberately going in and out of boost and shifting up and down multiple times just to hear it, you know. But under normal use, it's probably not a big deal. Let's see. I think Kern's wife is more of a car guy or person than he is. That could be true. She does have a very different taste than me. I mean, after all, when I posted my Tycon video, I still get comments from people like, "Why would you get that? Why would you get that?" And it's just she fell in love with it, man. But she also likes muscle cars, like old, big body V8s. Um, you know, like an old Lincoln Continental is like right up her alley. Something big, just completely ridiculous. That's what she wants. So for a project car, if you guys saw her like put together her dream build, I think you'd be impressed. Let's see. Am I a certified mechanic? No, I'm just shade tree mechanic. I'm just some guy. Like I mentioned, I have worked in automotive, but I worked like on the engineering side. So I worked in manufacturing and quality control and stuff like that. I'm probably going to make another video about that since we've got so many new subscribers and stuff. But never been a mechanic, never been a tuner. I just do my own stuff. And I actually got out of automotive because it made automotive not fun. So I like keeping automotive just personal as a hobby, and then work is kind of work. And I'm certified in the B48 streets, so that counts for something. Let's see. We all know there are loads of people who said the B58 is the new 2JZ. Do you think that's right? And do you know the differences? I mean, I know some of the differences. I've never had a 2J, but I do think it's kind of like an apples to orange comparison, you know, because the B58 is very different. I had this one guy that was arguing with me just about how the 2JZ was so much stronger because the block can hold 2,000 horsepower or whatever. And I was like, okay, but you got to replace cams to break like 500 wheel, you know, like you got to upgrade your oil system just to upgrade your turbo. It's not really as bulletproof as people like to imply. It still needs a lot of work and a lot of maintenance to run. And I think that's where the B58 shines. Like it's just simple. You can do really simple mods, make really good power out of it, and it's reliable. It just works. But, you know, the 2J obviously has its own kind of development path and it's been pretty well proven. So I don't know. I think they shine at different things. We don't look at the B58 like people look at TJZs. So it's an inline six with a turbo, and that's probably where the similarities stop. But I'll say stuff like that in posts or whatever just for the conversation. Let's see, thoughts on the Gen 3 B58, reliability, performance, and whatnot. We don't know, man. It's really right now. It's about as capable as a Camry, right? Like, there's nothing you can do with it. It's pretty fresh out, so we can't say too much about reliability, but it does seem like it's at least better than the initial issues it was having the first year or two. But there's nothing that you can do to modify or tune it. The only thing they have, I think, right now are some downpipes, and we mentioned before how you have to drop the subframe just to install the downpipe. So suddenly that whole B58 is so easy and simple falls out the window with the Gen 3. Let's see, what engine is my fave out of everything? Oh man, that's a good question. I don't think I've ever thought about that. I mean, because obviously my favorite engine that I've ever owned is the B58. It does pretty much everything I've wanted. But there are a lot of cars that I want with engines that sound really good, but I'm terrified to own. So it's hard for me to answer that question, really. But I think the B58 is pretty solid. There are some things that BMW screwed up. They could have simplified to make it like quote unquote perfect, but it's up there for me for sure. And that's why I keep buying them. That's why I have three. Am I going to make more content on the S58? I would like to, yes. It would be a lot easier if I had one. So we'll see in a couple months. Let's see. What is the best upgrade for my 440 Stage 2 Plus for cooling? I'm planning on going 5 to 6 times a year for a track day. And last week it was 36 degrees. Yeah, so unfortunately, I mean, with Stage 2 Plus on stock turbo, it shouldn't be too bad. Like, I never had temp issues on my stock turbo, and I tried to, you know, double down on that in my last video. Maybe I wasn't super clear in how I was saying it, but the only time I started having issues was after upgrading the turbo. And I mentioned to you guys, like, I run low boost and all this stuff to try to make it easier to manage on track and keep temps down. But in the peak of summer, it still gets really hot. So I think on stock turbo, you shouldn't have much of an issue, if any. You can run like a heat exchanger just to help, but it shouldn't be too bad. I think you'll be okay. And then for brakes, yeah, I think DS2500s are okay, but I don't know if they're really a trackpad. It just kind of depends on maybe how much seat time you have. Like if you're going to be able to really push the car, that might not be enough. But if you're just kind of cruising and enjoying it, and it's maybe like your first time, that might be okay. But once you start getting comfortable and getting faster, that's one of those annoying things. Like all of a sudden, you need to upgrade your brakes, not because they're not good enough, but because you're getting faster and you're overwhelming them. So that's why I run the Hawk pads. I think there's a Ferodo equivalent. I can't remember what it's called though. It's like DS1 or something like that. So maybe look into those, see if they have like an actual race pad or track pad that you can run. Yeah, there's a lot of cool engines. I mean, I think if I were to look for like a Honda engine or something like that, like a JDM engine that I was actually interested in, it would probably be, like you said, like either an RB or something that's boosted. I don't lose a lot of sleep over the NA engines like K24s and all that stuff. They're cool, but they just don't really do it for me. But yeah, like an RB, 2J, you know, those kind of cars that they sound good, look cool. I could enjoy something like that. And then of course, like I'm pretty partial to like the newer V8 engines, especially the supercharged ones. I like the idea of those, but again, I've never owned one. I probably never will. I used to really think if I wasn't obsessed with BMWs, I'd be in something with an LT4. That just seems like right up my alley. But I don't know. And even like a Voodoo and stuff, but those have their own problems. I don't know. Every V8 engine seems cool, but then when you look into it, it ends up having a bunch of like Achilles heels, and that's something that I'm not interested in. Just like the N63 and S63, it's not it. No, not a Hellcat. Okay, so a V8 engine that's not in a Dodge or Stellantis product. I should have specified that. I'm looking at Fords like GT500s, Z06s, ZL1s, um, cars like that, CTSVs. Those are pretty awesome. And if I wasn't, stuck in this horrible loop of being obsessed with German cars, those would probably be something I would drive. But maybe one day, I don't know. Things can always change. And it would just be something extra anyway. Yeah, Coyotes got it, man. Coyotes are tough. Coyotes, Voodoos. And so I made a post on my personal Facebook a couple weeks ago or maybe like a week or two ago, where I said I think the perfect car for me would be like an E46 M3 with around 500 horsepower. And everybody said, okay, well, you're not going to get 500 horsepower out of an E46 engine. So what are you going to swap into it? And that's what I heard. I heard LS or LT. I heard Coyote. A couple people said S65, but that would take a bunch of work to get it up to 500. And I don't think it would be reliable. I don't know how those engines really last when you push them. So yeah, and I mean, because I was speaking NA, I didn't really want like anything turbo or anything. So yeah, it's kind of like, it seems like that would make the most sense for that kind of thing. And there's a couple people that have swapped B48s and the E46s already. I don't know if you guys have seen them. It's actually pretty impressive. I never thought that would happen, but there's a couple people that have done it. Yeah, see, so you guys like the idea too, right? Because that was one of the recommendations. Like I was saying, we were talking about what car would I get after I sold the 340. And a lot of people told me buy like an E36 or an E46 and, fix up the engine or rebuild the engine that I pulled from the 340 and put that in another car. So yeah, that would take a lot. I don't know. I just have the engine sitting in a corner right now. Like I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. I'm looking at it. It's looking at me. Wondering what's going to happen with it. But honestly, it's probably just going to get parted out. I've been trying to figure out if I'm going to make another video trying to diagnose it because I still haven't figured out what was even wrong with it. But yeah, oh well. A lot of you guys had E46s. That's interesting. Yeah, because my dad had an E90, and that was kind of my first introduction to BMW. But he had his car before that for like almost 15 years or something. My parents just don't really go through cars. And then finally he decided it was time for him to get something nice. So he went crazy and bought a 325i just because they're super scared of spending money, but he wanted something nice. So he at least got a BMW, even if it was the most entry level base version. And then I think he drove that for about 10 years before he got rid of it. But yeah, I don't even think, well, I have been in an E46 because I had a coworker that had an E46 M3, and he used to take us to work or take us to lunch sometimes. But it was really slow. He was like a really slow driver. I always kind of wondered why he had the car because the way that he was, it seemed almost like he was scared of it. And he had it since high school. His parents bought it for him, so I guess he was one of those people that just had a lot more self-control than I did at that age because he took really good care of it. He did not beat on it at all. So I've never really had like a E46 M3 like real experience. A B48 would actually make more sense. funny you mentioned that, my man. Let me see if I can find this. Have you guys seen those B48 swaps? There's a team called Strom Motorsports that does B48 E46 swaps. And they have like a bunch of content about it. They basically have like a whole race program. Here it is. Hold on. Let me switch screens. Oh, it's got an ad. So what they do is they put the B46 in the car and it like manages it perfectly. It fits like a glove. And I don't know how they made it fit so perfect, but it's just awesome. And I really like the idea of it. And I gotta apologize in advance because I know how annoyed I am on YouTube with ads. So I know if you guys are watching my videos, you probably see a million ads as well. So I appreciate you guys sticking it out because this annoys the crap out of me. All right, let's see if I can switch. Are you guys seeing YouTube? Hopefully. So this is the car. Oh, is it not showing? Come on. Oh, it is showing. Okay, good. It fits. All right, so yeah, so this is the car. So it's an E46, basically fully built with a B48. And you see how much of it is behind the shock towers? So it's like basically what they talk about, like being front mid-engine or whatever. Gosh, I didn't realize they cut into it, but they push it back as far as they can and then fully build out the car so it's actually set up for racing. So I've been following this. I guess this is my little secret. I've been watching this to see like how much of an investment it would be. Because that's always the ultimate goal, right? Like you want to get into actual racing or something where you're driving hard. And I always felt like that would be pretty slick. And they do everything. You don't have to figure it out. You basically bring them the chassis and the engine and, tell them what options you want and they set it up. So I think that would be pretty solid. It still probably needs like a turbo or something to keep me entertained because I don't know if 250 or 300 horsepower or whatever they make tuned would be enough. But yeah, that would be pretty slick. And these guys do it all. So look up, if you're curious, look up Strom Motorsports. And that's their program and how they put the cars together. Anyway, back to reality. Thanks for entertaining me. Yeah, that's the idea, right? So it's lightweight, it's balanced. It again doesn't make a whole lot of power. They probably make around 300 horsepower, but at the same time, it's just something that you can have fun with, and especially if you're in like a racing class that's limited on power anyway, you don't really need a whole lot. But if you're doing it for HPDE like I am, you want to party, yeah, slap like a turbo on there, make like over 400, 450, something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. Is a B48 just as reliable as a B58? I think mostly. The only issues that I hear about with the B48 are mostly heat related, which they don't have as much cooling as B58s from what I've seen. And so like a lot of the upgrades that fit our cars don't always fit B48 chassis vehicles. and they don't have a lot of like intercooler upgrades and stuff like that. So it's probably one of the more difficult things about them. The first car that I heard about with an oil filter housing failure was a B48 car. And I think they had those failures a lot earlier and a lot more often than we did. So think about stuff like that, you know, maybe like valve cover gaskets and everything associated with the car running hot. But I think overall, I mean, it should be pretty similar. My B58 was having similar problems to yours. I was hoping you would dive into it. I probably will, especially because I'm also curious. I haven't found anything wrong with it. Like I showed you guys, the bearings were fine, the pistons were fine. I need to go back through the pistons again because some people were telling me to pull all the piston rings because there could be damage that the piston rings are hiding. So I might do that. And then also a lot of people said to like what is it, spray or paint the head to look for cracks and stuff. So I might do that as well. I just haven't had time, honestly, but I do intend on doing something. The PCV was definitely like an ongoing problem, and I don't know where it stemmed from, but if you guys remember when I got the car, it wasn't smoking at all. It wasn't really having any drivability problems until I got into boost, and then it would misfire. And that's when I plugged the head ports and the issue went away. So I think it's something associated with that. I don't know where though. And eventually, whatever it was that was wearing out completely wore out, and that's what it left us with. So um, it'll be an interesting one to dig into because I am curious too. Let's see. I saw somebody trying to swap a B58 into an I8. Yeah, so that's Trevor. We tried to talk sense into Trevor, and Trevor didn't want to make sense. So he is committed to not just B58 swapping the I8, but he also wants to X drive swap it. I don't know how far he's gotten. He probably started making videos too early because he got a bunch of hype about it, and then it stalled a little bit, and he had a lot of work to do that wasn't entertaining to watch, so he wasn't posting it. So people keep asking like, when is the swap going to be done? When is the swap going to be done? And it's not that he's not working on it. It's just nobody wants to see you beating on your transmission tunnel with a hammer for 3 hours. You know, he's doing a lot of massaging, as you might say, to make everything fit. So, but yeah, I told him, I mean, there's literally a B38 that would drop right in to where the 3 cylinder was. I don't want to say drop right in, but be much more comparable to the 3 cylinder that was already in the car. And I mean, there are many platforms, and now we've got like the new 2 Series Grand Coupes and stuff that are front wheel drive based. So they've got transverse engines that would fit just like that, you know. But he wants to mount a longitudinal engine and fit a drive shaft, and wants to make the X drive fit. It's gonna be pretty complex, so we'll see. Yeah, I know him. Everybody knows him. He's the guy that owns Bimmer Network. So that's Trevor. So if you guys haven't been following him, it's probably on the Bimmer Network Instagram or on their YouTube page. I don't actually know where he's been posting the videos, but I've been seeing them. Um, yeah, so it's either on his personal social media or on the Bimmer Network social media channels if you want to follow that build and see when it comes back. Let's see, which B58 is more reliable with or without the mild hybrid? I would personally go without the mild hybrid. The only benefit that I see with the mild hybrid, or the only thing that makes me like it, is it makes the auto start stop a lot more smooth because basically they don't need the starter. They just start it with the transmission and it starts up quick. But it definitely has more failure points. It's definitely more difficult to tune from what I've seen. Like it has some complexities. I don't know how that interacts with like a built transmission and stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, if you're just staying stock turbo and just having fun with it, it probably doesn't matter. But it has more pieces that can cause issues. And that's a part of the reason why I got my X7 as well. It doesn't have the mild hybrid in it. They got those in 2021, so I stuck with the 2020. Do I set sport cooling mode on all the time? No, I actually never have it on. So the most that I would do is like sport, but I posted about it before. Like when I ran it in sport, it never got up to temperature. And then when I was on track, the car still got just as hot when pushed. So it kept temps down in normal driving, but when I was beating on the car for 20 minutes, oil temps still went back up, over 200 degrees. So to me, it wasn't really worth it. I didn't really see the benefit on the street. I know some people have mentioned they think it'll make the coolant components last longer. So, like all the hoses and stuff that turn purple and brown or whatever from being hot and running for a long time, people say that running the engine at a cooler temp will prevent those from cracking and breaking. But I don't intend on ever really using it. And the car automatically goes into the, essentially max cooling mode when it needs to anyway. It just isn't on all the time like it would be if you turned it on an MHD. What's up, Soggy? Yeah, thanks, man, for the support. Sorry you got to work today, man. Hopefully you get off soon and can enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's see, I have a 2020 M340, and after they replaced the diff seals, my diff started failing. Is that normal? I would say no. I've never actually had to deal with that, but I would expect anything to start failing after you do a service unless they didn't do it properly, like they didn't seal something up properly or didn't refill it all the way. Uh, that definitely shouldn't happen. Oh, and my battery's running down. I thought my laptop would last longer. We might have another like 15 minutes or so. Let's set our timer just to make sure it doesn't die. Yeah, I'll have to make sure I bring my charger with me next time. And thanks again, guys, for everybody jumping on. I know this one was kind of last minute. I've been meaning to live stream more often this year. And like I said, life has just been hectic. So it's been hard to get on, but hopefully I can at least get on here every 1 or 2 months, answer your questions and stuff, because I know I suck at responding to DMs and everything. So we can just hang out, chat, chill, whatever makes sense. Let's see, it started spraying, so they are blaming the diff and try to blame the mileage of the car. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, man. I mean, why did they replace the diff seals in the first place? Because I've never even heard of that being like a normal maintenance item. That's a little confusing to me. But it sounds like maybe if they replaced the seal, they needed to refill it, and maybe they didn't refill it all the way, and that would definitely cause damage. Or if it's spraying, then that means something wasn't sealed up properly. Or it's spraying out of the vent tube. Yeah, but that's all of our cars. Like all of our cars have the vent tube on top, or like the hole. And when you beat on it and like launch it really hard, it'll spray oil out of it sometimes. So that's why it's a good idea to check your level from time to time, even if you're not doing the service, because sometimes it's not really leaking, it's just pushing out of that hole. I just got my 440. Do you think buying a full exhaust system is worth buying now or just a muffler delete? I just did a muffler delete, but I am also a glutton for punishment. So it doesn't bother me that it's loud. It doesn't bother me that I hear it all the time. I know a lot of people like their valve systems and stuff like that, but if I bought an exhaust, I want to hear my exhaust. So that's why I just went the simple route. It's cheap. It's pretty easy. Pretty much any shop can do it. I just brought some 4-inch tips with me for them to weld on, so it kind of filled up the rear diffuser. And I like it. I've had it, gosh, I guess 8 years now, and it's been pretty good. One of the exhaust hangers failed at one point, so that was the only issue I probably had. But again, it's like a custom piece from an exhaust shop, so it's not going to be perfect like something from a more reputable company, I guess. So dealt with that. Otherwise, it's been pretty good. Just know it's going to be loud. If you want something that's quiet and like more streetable, then you probably should keep a muffler. Sorry for not understanding. Sport cooling for intercooler is not on. No, that one. So sorry, I should specify. I don't run regular sport cooling. I only run sport cooling for the intercooler. And I run that in all of my cars, the 340, the 440, and the X7. The X7 especially because it has the flaps. I don't know if your car has that, but if it has the shutters in the grill, it gets really hot. So I feel like anything that you do can help. I don't keep the grills open all the time, but for some cars, I might even consider that, just leaving the grills open so you don't have to deal with that, because IATs shoot up way over 100 degrees without even trying. Have I considered upgrading the brakes on the X7? So I literally have like the same brakes you would get on an M3 on my X7. I have 395 millimeter front rotors and I think 370 or 65 millimeter rear rotors. So it's the biggest brake option those cars came with. It's the same as you would get on like an M50i or an M60i or whatever. That was another reason why I got the car, because it had that out of the box. It had, for some reason, that was like one of the only upgrades it had. It didn't have the M Sport package. It didn't have dynamic handling or the LSD, but they opted for big brakes and they opted for the blackout kit to black out all the trim around the windows and stuff. And I was like, that's awesome. For a regular, luxury spec X7, having a couple things that are important to me, that was nice. I still wish it had the black headliner, but that's the only thing I think it's really missing. Have I ever had issues with the evaporator? No. Um, what I do think is I'm having an issue with my condenser, and I plan on replacing that in the 340, and I'll probably do a DIY to show how it's done and why I'm doing it. But I haven't had any issues with the evaporator. So that would be a new one. What kind of issue are you having? Like, is your AC not working? Because it could be a lot of things in that case. All right, I'm probably at time, everybody. Let's see. Yeah, my battery's dropping quick. I'll make sure I bring my charger with me next time so I can hang out like normal for a couple hours and stuff. But um, yeah, just wanted to jump on for a little bit, see everybody. Hopefully, we'll have more of this coming soon, and I'll let you guys know, of course, in advance the next time I do one. AC is not working. If the AC isn't working, the first thing I would check is your coolant levels. Look in the small tank and see if your coolant is low, because 99.9% of the time your coolant is low, and that's usually from like your heat exchanger leaking. That's very common. So I would check that. Anyway, all right, guys. Yep. Gonna hop off before my battery dies. Thanks again for jumping on. I will see you on the next one. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Again, hopefully everybody had a good 4th. And yeah, look out for another video tomorrow. See you guys.